And we're live. Good morning. Good afternoon. Good evening. Hope you're having a good day, whatever time it is where you are. Welcome aboard. We are here in Bilbao. I think I'm pronouncing that right. In Spain. So, we're heading up to Dublin. We're in the Airbus A320, and full disclosure, my flight plan has gone horribly wrong today. Turns out one of the waypoints that SimBrief gave me is not in the database on this plane. Therefore, the whole flight plan just failed a bit. So I've put it back together as best I can manually, off stream, because honestly that was like watching paint dry. You don't want to be watching that, believe me. We are missing a few constraints, so we'll have to use a bit of poetic license on the way up and on the way down. Sort of follow our own rules, but they'll be good rules, so it's all good. As for the routes, we are going to... Let me show you. Where are we? We're going to take off out of Bilbao, up to the north over the Bay of Biscay, head up over to Brittany, almost a straight line then to Dublin, and we're going to come in on this pattern. And straight into Dublin. So we should be about 2 hours, a little bit under 2 hours. So let's get ourselves taxi down to the runway. I've got to admit, after last stream in the A330, this does feel very nice being back in the A320. It's like a favourite t-shirt. It really is. Kind of feels exactly the way you expect it to feel, whereas the 330 was, while it wasn't a terrible landing at LAX, it wasn't one for the Hall of Fame, put it that way. Everything felt different. Very, very different indeed. But it's good to try these things. Arguably I maybe should have tried it off stream, not doing it in front of you lot. That's fine. Tanker, what are you doing? You're just going to sit there now, aren't you? Because you're a dumb AI. Well, I'm just going to move and pretend you're not there. Let's head on down to the end here. Head on down. So we're cruising, what are we cruising at? Flight level 380. So we will go up to 14,000 to start. Crucially get ourselves above that 10,000. Get ourselves on the main part of the route and finish off that climb. Okay. We are good to go and get lined up. Alright, I think everything looks good. Speed at 220. Get that set to 14,000. Our heading is going to be managed, so as soon as autopilot comes on, that'll take care of it for us. 29902. Right, let's go to Dublin. The wind seems nice and gentle, not having to fight the centre line at all, which is always welcome. Okay, let's start rotating. There's a bit of a lumpy bumpy runway though. Alright, positive rate, gear up. Let's get that autopilot on. So we've got a turn coming up. Throttle levers back to climb. So we'll creep our speed up a little bit now. 220. — 7,500 feet now, so not long till 10,000 we can start thinking about going a bit quicker. Cool, so coming up on 10,000 feet. And we'll put the speed into managed. And you'll see now it's heading for 290 knots. adjust this. 3006. Sails up to our cruise. So I'll let the plane manage it. So this first part of the flight, actually not an awful lot to see out the window, besides the Bay of Biscay. So we're going to track up the western coast of France, obviously a few miles out into the sea. Then, assuming that I've done my flight plan correctly, which is still in doubt after the difficulties we had on the ground, we should go over Brittany, then over the English Channel, across Devon, just about kiss the edge of southwest Wales, and over the Irish Sea. Tricky one with the flight plan this morning. I kind of feel like I've fudged it a little bit in the interest of getting going. So one of the waypoints that SimBrief had given us, the plane just did not know where it was. Just not in database, it kept saying. Which meant the whole flight plan fell to bits, so I kind of reconstructed it as best I could. It does mean, though, the middle part of the flight, the cruise, may be more as the crow flies versus following a traditional airway in the sky. So everything I just said about going over Brittany, Devon, Wales, the Irish Sea, we may see some of that. But I think it's more or less going to be drawing a straight line. Okay. Just set that to standard. What view would you all like during the cruise? Let me know in the chat. More than happy to accommodate. Oops. So we're looking 185 miles to the next waypoint. Mokor. It's into plan. Look. Mokor. Turku. So after Turku it is literally as the crow flies. Until we hit just south of Dublin, and we're following the star into Dublin. Bad news, folks, my coffee's gone cold. I'm going to go and fix that. I'll leave you to enjoy the views. I'll be back in a minute. Hello, good morning, how are you? Sorry, not ignoring you, I was refilling my coffee. Thank you for stopping by the stream, appreciate you. Oh, I had to microwave my coffee, it's never the same after you do that. Right, what are we thinking for the next view? Cockpit? Wing? Engine? Could maybe do an external. Let me know, it's up to you, it's your stream. Maybe I'll put a poll up. Let's put a poll up. There we go, the poll is live. Let's see where we are on our map. Thank you all for being here. I do appreciate you, I really do. There we go, so basically halfway across the Bay of Biscay. Which is fine. I do have a map that I can overlay on the stream, but it was broken earlier. Let's see if it's working again. this. Yeah, I'd say that's broken for now, which means that bit at the top is redundant as well. Let's get rid of those for now. So I've not actually got long, about an hour and 20. At our current speed. So that's not factoring in us slowing down on approach into Dublin. Curious what you all are doing when you watch these sort of streams. Wessam, hello! I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I feel like I've got this giant inability in life to pronounce names and words properly. So if I do mispronounce anything, I don't mean to cause you any offence. So apologies in advance. Especially with a lot of names people have on YouTube, they're like the most, like they're not their actual names a lot of the time, they're just these kind of like random concoctions of words and goodness knows what. I'm trying to like read them out on stream to say hello directly to somebody. It's one of the biggest challenges of this I found. Bless you. Keep in mind, I spent about 5 years thinking Beyonce was pronounced Bay once. So that's kind of where I'm at. That's the level that we're dealing with here. Never did quite live that one down amongst my friends. Check in, see where we are. What are we, about 80 miles thereabouts from the next waypoint? 90 miles, fair enough. Then we got Turku. And from there, thanks to this morning's mishaps, it is going to plan. Yeah, thanks to this morning's mishaps, rather than following a flight plan, we're going as the crow flies all the way to Dublin. Because we had some waypoints that were not in the plane. and no matter what I did, it just wouldn't take them. I think we're coming up on the coast of Brittany there. Yeah, I'd say that's probably mostly Brittany. I don't know where Brittany begins and ends. Potentially there. That would be a good place for a boundary. How's the pole doing? 50-50, okay. Decisive. 50% wing, 50% engine. How about I meet you halfway and we do wing and engine? How about that? Such a diplomat. So there's a very real chance that after Wednesday we'll be doing a lot more flights in the Boeings, because I'm off to a sim experience day at an airport. I've got to drive about 3 hours to get there and 3 hours back, but I think it'll be worth it. So they've got a 737 simulator, although obviously the flight sim nerd in me wants to know how have they built it, because it's not. Initially I thought it was one of those ones the full motion sim where you got the pod on the hydraulic legs that throws you around. It's not one of those. Looking at the pictures, it's like they've replicated the cockpit of a 737, and I guess they've got screens on the outside of the windscreens. So you've got the windows, the windscreens of the cockpit. And they've got some sort of wraparound screen. But yeah, I don't know what sim they're using. So many unknowns, I'm really curious. Could be one of those things where it's really good, or it's one of those things where it's there's been a lot of corners cut here. Despite the fact it looks like a 737, is it actually? Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to keep an open mind, very curious. I think the value is going to be, I get an hour with a 737 pilot, and I think we get to go more or less wherever I want. It's like I've said before, so much time in the 320 where it manages the trim automatically. Put me in a Boeing and that's where I start to struggle, especially on the approach, especially when the speeds are changing on the way down. I struggle to know what to do. So I think in an ideal world I'd like to just have a chat with the pilot and be like, is there some just rules of thumb, cheat sheet almost, that can get me on my way? Because I think there's the PMDG 737-800 coming out very soon, which to me is that is the 737. You say 737 to me, that's kind of what I think of in my head. It's probably the one you've been on if you've been on holiday in a 737, that kind of thing. So I haven't actually bought any of the other ones that PMDG have made. Kind of been holding out. Although the 600 is very cheap. It's like $30. Goodness knows what the 800 will cost, I presume. It would be the most expensive. I could be wrong. Thank you for all the likes, by the way. I can see the number going up. Massively appreciate it. It's like that. I've said it before, but I'll say it again. If you like anything on YouTube, hit the like button, because it helps a creator more than I think most people realise. It helps so much. You know, if you think about what YouTube's goal is, it is to get people to click on videos and to watch videos. So how can it put the right videos in front of the right people? It looks at the likes, it looks at the watch time, it looks at the click-through rate, and the likes play a massive role in that. Obviously don't like it if you don't like it. I'm not, you know, not trying to game the system, but it really does help. Can't be long until the new sim update is out. Considering how much I play this game, I'm very not up to date on that stuff. Probably should be more up to date on that stuff, given where I'm at with it all. I think the biggest thing for me is going to be DLSS, and I think that's going to help a lot of people as well. A lot of people. You know, it's no secret this game is a challenge to run for PCs. Yeah, DLSS can be a massive help there. I mean, it's only going to help you if you've got a modern Nvidia GPU, but nevertheless that still probably represents a good chunk of the market, on the PC side at least. Should help with the frames per second, because that is where we struggle a little bit sometimes. Although looking at my stats at the moment, I think it's actually my processor. Hello Starfish, how you doing? How are you? I hope you're well. About an hour and 10 to go now, 538 miles. We're just over the coast of the southern part of Brittany in France. Can you see the other side of Brittany? Can you see sort of edge to edge? No. No, you can't. Oh, wrong button. There we go. I wish they would fix this, like this flickering that you get on the plastic inserts around the windows. Must be the way they're calculating the light bouncing off the texture or something. It always bugs me. I always try and move the camera away from that. But yeah, looking at my performance at the moment, my CPU is 31% utilised and my GPU is 50% utilised. So that tells me that the game is being bottlenecked by my processor. Because believe me, if it could, my GPU would be at 100%. But the CPU can't feed it the frames it needs to be at 100%. I think that's the game being limited because it runs mostly on a single core or a single thread of your processor. So you could put a 16-core Ryzen 9 in your system. Sim's probably going to use like mostly one core most of the time. which does make it an interesting time with the new processors coming out end of this year. You've got new Intel stuff, new AMD stuff, Zen 4 and 13th gen. So the data I'll be paying particular attention to when the reviewers have at it will be the single core performance, because if you get like a 30% bump in single core, then that's actually a very good improvement in the context of flight sim. Yeah, it could be an expensive autumn. We've got new graphics cards, new processors. If I'm not careful, there's going to be a whole new PC being built, but I'm trying to avoid that because it's completely unnecessary. I do love building a PC, so we'll see. So this, I believe, will be our final turn until we hit Ireland. As the crow flies. Let's go back to that one. That doesn't look bad. Yeah, I'm always curious, like, what are you doing when you're watching a flight sim stream? I'm always curious. Is it like a background thing for you, or is it a thing that you like to sit and actively watch? Always curious. For me, I think it's a background thing. Especially like during the cruise, where it's quite chill, cool views. You're working from home or something, it's quite cool to have it on. Quite a nice way to track time in a way as well. Yeah, if you know the plane is in France, that will, by the time the plane gets to England, I'll try and do this bit of work or something. That could just be me though. You just sit and watch, fair enough. I think maybe I need to chill on trying to analyse my audience. I think that's probably a lot of it. I've got a background in that kind of stuff. Analytics, things like that. So I'm always quite quick to go down that rabbit hole, if you see what I mean. The pole is basically a third, a third, a third. Doesn't help me. I'll rotate. I'll rotate the views around. Try and be fair to everyone. How's the quality of the stream bins? Have been okay? Just looking at the dashboard, it's just told me that it is an excellent connection, but it's only just told me that. So I don't know whether that implies prior to that it was not an excellent connection. Oh, it's good. Okay, cool. Thank you. Let's have a look out the cockpit. Would you prefer this view or something more like that? Then we've got our final turn coming up. The last one until Ireland. So just thinking about when we need to calculate our top of descent. So we've got 467 miles to run. Track miles, that is. And we're at 38,000 feet cruising. So if we multiply 38 by 3, what's the maths on that? 114. Add on another 10 to give us time to slow down, 124. Call it 125. Yeah, we've got a fair way to go. So looking at the flight plan, at 11:55 UTC, and it's now 11:02 for context, we need to be at flight level 070, so 7,000 feet at 230 knots. So that means we need to drop 31,000 feet. And if we call it 2,000 feet per minute, 15.5 minutes, we need to get our speed under control as well. So if we call it 18, 19 minutes. So in about half an hour, I think we'll start thinking about descending down to that. Which would be about right, that seems reasonable given where we are. Yeah, we're heading over Brittany. Going to cross the channel shortly. Head over the southwest of England. We should, by my reckoning, just touch the southwest coast of Wales, so it'll probably be around there. Yeah, we're going to have to manage ourselves a bit better today. With the issues with the flight plan and me reconstructing it as best I could, that leaves us to calculate a lot of the points at which we need to be ourselves rather than the flight plan telling us. It's a bit more of a primitive flight plan today. It will get us there. But just got a turn coming up in a minute. There's the coast of Brittany. So we must be quite near to where the ferry comes in, I believe. Is it Roscoff? I think, is that Roscoff there? That would seem like the obvious place to do the ferry route from that headland, or maybe that one. So it goes from Plymouth, I believe, which is, I want to say there. And I can tell you it's about 90 miles point to point on the ferry. So I did the ferry ride once with some friends, and we were having, I wouldn't say an argument, but a spirited debate about how far it is. And then we decided one of us should get up and go and ask a member of staff how far it is, and they must have overheard us, because the moment one of us stood up, they shouted, "It's 90 miles!" Thank you. Weirdly though, on the way back, so heading out from France, the ferry left, I don't know what time it left, like, let's say 10 o'clock at night. left the port at 10, sailed for about half an hour, dropped the anchor, and just sat there for like 4 hours. And then in the middle of the night it started moving. So I guess there must be a rule, they have to be out of the port at a certain time or they've got to pay more. Oh, there's a lot of you watching. Well, for me, there's a lot of you watching. I'm well aware that this is small fry compared to most YouTubers. But still, that's a large enough number that makes me think I hope I don't ruin the landing in front of you all. I make a confession, when I come in on the approach, I usually shut the laptop lid so I can't see the numbers, because I find it puts me off. Oh bloody hell, look what's in the chat. Get out. Out, out, out. Unbelievable. It's not adult dating sites, it's bloody cryptocurrencies. Yeah, get out of here. I've reported them, so maybe they'll get banned or something, but I imagine another account will appear as quickly as the other one is deleted. About 50 minutes, it thinks. 380 miles. Just in time for lunch. Hey, at least that bot made my chat rate go up. So it makes me looks good to YouTube. See where we are. So I don't have a flight plan appearing on this map because according to the sim, we don't have a flight plan. The plane does, because I've imported it in some way from SimBrief. But the game is completely unaware of what we're doing. So yeah, I think originally the plan was to head over Devon sort of this way, and then head on up to Dublin, but as it turns out we're going more of a direct route, which is not realistic in the slightest, but that's okay. Channel Islands. Must be. Jersey, Guernsey. I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily trust my geography. Let's put it that way. See land? Yes, we can. Oh, I know, it'd be a nightmare, wouldn't it? Absolute nightmare. I'm amazed that SimBrief is free. Like, the value that it gives to simmers, they could easily charge $5-10 a month for that, and I bet most people would pay it. In a way, it's almost like the charts. You can get away with not having the charts if you can figure out your stars and SIDS yourself. Yeah, in a weird way, I think almost it could be inverted, like you pay for the SimBrief and then the charts you get for free. Yeah, it's an amazing resource for flight simmers. But I've seen some people do it manually. You know, they sit there, part of their stream is they're just sat there on the deck in the cockpit for however long, programming it all in. I wonder how it works in the real world. Yeah, if you're like an EasyJet captain and you go Bristol to Alicante, Gatwick to Dublin, or, you know, do they have to do all those waypoints every single time, or if they got a way they can quick load them? That's a question for 320 Sim Pilot, not for me. Absolute legend, that guy. Absolute legend. Taught us all so much. I'm amazed actually that he finds the time to stream, because I don't know who he flies for, I don't know how often he flies, but you know, pilots have a fairly packed roster as a rule, especially if you're doing short haul. That is not it's not an easy way to earn a living at all. And to put out the content that he does, the quality of the content as well as the quantity, it's quite amazing. We're still on track for 11:54 to our waypoint of Sorin, S-O-R-I-N, at which point we need to be at 7,000 feet and 230 knots. So 31,000 feet to lose. 2,000 feet a minute, 15.5 minutes. Give ourselves another couple of minutes to slow down. 17, 18 minutes. 11:54. So if by about 11:36 we start our descent, that means we're 15 minutes away from starting our descent. Which again seems reasonable if you look where we are. We're just coming up on Cornwall. We've got Land's End, Penzance in view. It's weird, isn't it, how the land creeps up on you. Like if you look away from the screen for just 10, 20, 30 seconds and then look back and like, oh, it's bigger. But if you constantly look at it, it's like, it's the same, it's the same, it's the same. Oh yeah, that is a very interesting thought, isn't it? I mean, 10 years ago, I'm trying to think where we were, really. Flight Sim 10 was the last thing I think we had from Microsoft, and I think the studio department was considered finished, wasn't it, at that point? Like, Flight Sim is no more. So I think at that point my attention, my brief attention, because I wasn't really that into it at that point. I was into it beforehand quite a lot. I was terrible, but I loved it. Then life got in the way, as it sometimes does. But at that point, I think once it became clear that the Microsoft one was end of life, as it were, and there wasn't another one coming, I guess my attention shifted towards X-Plane. Which ironically, I played on my Mac, my iMac. I bought an iMac in 2014. And you could run X-Plane, was it X-Plane 10 or 11? I think it was 10. But again, I was playing very, very casually. I didn't know any of the systems on the planes. I was literally just taking off, going around in a circle and landing for the most part. But that's, you know, that's how you start. You've got to start somewhere. Yeah, what they've managed to achieve with this is remarkable. It really is. I wonder what the reaction inside of X-Plane was when they saw this, because really at that point it must have been music to their ears when Microsoft said, yeah, we're not doing Flight Sim anymore. It's like, sweet, it's like so much market share we can potentially get, and then they come out with this and it's like, oh damn it. It's really good as well. Look how good it looks. Good for the industry though, you know, competition's good. I know some people like to pick a side and fight for that side. I've never really understood that. How long do we have? First time here, well welcome, first of all. Good to have you. We're 307 miles away with an estimated arrival time of 12:02 UTC, and it is 11:22 UTC now. So 40 minutes away. We're going to start our descent in about 14 minutes. Just coming over Cornwall, heading up to Ireland, heading up to Dublin. So as we get over the Irish Sea, we will start our descent. What livery am I using? I'll show you. It's a custom one. It's rather loud. Yeah, I spent far too long making this. Considering how simple a design it is, it took me way longer than I thought it was going to take. No, not on VATSIM. This is just me flying alone today. And we're by no means following an accurate flight plan either. We've had a bit of an issue with that this morning. The main issue being that one of the waypoints that SimBrief gave me, the plane just didn't know what it was. So the whole flight plan fell to bits, so I kind of had to rebuild it as best I could. And full disclosure, I'm not great at it. But I managed to get us a route from Spain up to Dublin. What am I doing? Hit the wrong button. Go back to the other one. Forgive me. No, you know what, I haven't. And I keep meaning to. The whole VATSIM thing does feel quite intimidating, I'm not going to lie. I maybe need to find a way that I can have a practice at it. And I think they do sort of like evenings or whatever where it's kind of like new people are welcome. I just don't want to turn up and be a pain. And kind of ruin it for those that are trying to do it properly. There's Land's End. ATC talk. Yes and no is the honest answer. I've heard enough of it that it's kind of like when you... Like, I've heard enough French that I can kind of make out a bit of it, but I wouldn't fancy my chances if I had to speak it in a real life situation. Does that make sense? Yeah, one of my things for this summer is actually to sort of dive into maybe find some YouTube videos. I have seen some by some cool creators that I've been watching for a while. I think EasyJet Sim Pilot's got one. Sort of like how to do VATSIM without doing VATSIM. So I might dig into that. Yeah, we should get some 737 content on the channel as well, when I can get my hands on the PNDG 737-800. And I can guarantee after my sim experience coming up on Wednesday, I know what's going to happen. Like right now, I'm perfectly happy flying the A320, but I'm going to come back from that. It's a 737 sim day. I'm going to be like the biggest fanboy of the 737, I just know it. I usually just fly of my own. I kind of like that as like a thing for the channel, really. Almost like the channel is its own little airline, if that makes sense. I kind of like that. I mean, really, like 9 times out of 10 you spend the whole sim and, you know, the stream actually inside the plane. So really what livery you're using makes precious little difference. There's half the time you won't see it besides the colour of the engine. What days do I stream? So at the minute I'm streaming a bit more than I usually would because I've got a bit of extra time. Usually be doing Monday mornings, which is kind of like now, I guess. Wednesday mornings. Sometimes I might do like a bonus stream, I guess you could call it, at the weekends. And occasionally, depending on what's going on, maybe a Tuesday night, Thursday night. But yeah, like the two firm time slots, if you will, are Monday, Wednesday morning, UK time. Thanks for the sub, by the way, I appreciate you. Trying to find our way to 1,000. Then I think I can apply to have the channel monetized. 1,000 subs and 4,000 watch hours, I think is the requirement. Which seems like a lot for 4,000. Blimey. Oh, have you? Nice. Cool. Yeah, it's we were just saying, I think before you popped in the chat, absolute marvel. Oh no. The chatbot's back. Quickly, get him out of here. Get out. Get out. Get out. Get out. Get out. Again, I know. Unbelievable, right? That was dangerous, actually. When I when I went to click on the little thing and ban it, one of the options was make this user a moderator. It's like, what? I'm not doing that. Imagine if I did that. What kind of airline is this? Maybe I didn't sufficiently ban them in the first place. How did I learn to play? Sorry, got distracted there by the rather rude bot that joined the chat. How did I learn to play? It's a good question. Just experimenting, I guess. I mean, I've got no formal background in piloting or any of that. I'm a self-confessed plane nerd. Like, love it. If I see a plane in the sky, I've got to get my phone out and use the Flight Radar app and see what it is, where it's going, and everyone's just like, "What are you doing?" But I like it, so. I would say, in the context of this airplane, the A320, the majority of my knowledge, and we were saying about this earlier, YouTube channel 320 Sim Pilot, real world sim pilot that makes YouTube videos showing us simmers, how it really works, and that has helped a ton. It really has, especially like just like, you don't need to go into all the detail if you're new to it, because I think if you did, you could honestly be put off by it. It's like quite intense. But if you were to just take the general rules, you can get a long way with your simming. Just like on the approach, speed of 140, descent rate of 800 feet per minute will give you roughly a 3-degree glide slope, and that's where you should be at. And you can get the plane to set your speed, which means you only need to control how much you're descending with the joystick. So little things like that can get you a long way. But make no mistake, I am still firmly in learning mode. I don't sit here being like, right everyone, this is how you fly a plane, this is me educating you. That is not what this channel is. This is just one plane nerd to a bunch of other plane nerds, enjoying the sim, enjoying the hobby, and hopefully learning from each other. It's a route you really want to fly but never could. Jameson, hello. How you doing? Welcome on in. Welcome aboard. What is the one route you really want to fly but never could? On here or in real life? In real life, in real life, it'd be really cool to do the London to Perth non-stop. Oh nice, good for you. That's awesome. As in, you want to start flying in real life, or more in a simming context? Occasionally, yeah. In fact, my last stream prior to this, and the video's up on the channel, is fair play in real life. Alright. Fair play. Yeah, the last stream I did was Vancouver to LAX in the A330. That's the first time actually flying the A330, so the landing, don't judge me too hard on that one, blimey. That really stuck out to me actually, that still an Airbus, just bigger, but wow did it feel different. Even on the tarmac, just taxiing around, just like your movements, feels like you've got to put more into the movements to get the plane to move, but not too much more, because then it'll move too much, whereas the 320 is a bit more nimble on its feet. That's how it felt anyway. Okay, so we are... is that the coast? Yeah, that's the coast of Ireland. Do I have any mods? Yeah, so this is... I mean, this plane in itself is a mod, really. This is the fly-by-wire version of the A320. So the game give you a 320 that they made, and then fly-by-wire is an open source collaborative effort by developers, pilots that are trying to take what the game gave us and move it forward to try and get it as realistic as possible. There is another one you can get, which is a paid for one, made by Phoenix, but I don't have that. And on the odd occasion I fly a 747, I use the Salty Simulations mod. Okay, so what we're doing now, we're just descending to flight level 070. I'm doing a descent rate of 2,000 feet per minute, so it's just finding that for us. And we also... Where are the clouds? Good question. It is a very hot day here in the UK today. Very hot day. We're about to enter a heat wave, so that's probably explaining the absence of the clouds. Which is good, because like in real life there isn't a cloud in the sky today, so it's good to know that the sim is mostly accurate on that front. I say heat wave, like people from other climates would probably like just laugh at me. It's 28 degrees Celsius. I don't know what that is in the other one, Fahrenheit. There is the coast of Wales. So that is, where is that? Over here, if you can just see it, in there is, what's it called? Oh, that's where the ferry goes from to Ireland. What's it called? Can't remember. There's two places you can get the ferry from down here. There's Fishguard, which is here, I think. Ah, Pembroke, in here. Pembroke. This is actually quite a cool place to get a ferry from, because you kind of come out this estuary. So you spend quite a lot of the time actually with land either side of you. Whereas Fishguard is more, it's either there, or maybe there. One of these. Yeah, just thinking you're from the US, you're probably hearing me say it's hot at 28 degrees. You're probably like, yeah, that's not hot. I remember flying to Vegas in real life, and it was in the middle of summer this time of year. Like, my goodness, I've never experienced heat like that in my life. I made the mistake as well, because obviously like we took off from London, and it's like a cold day, so I had like jeans on, I had like a sweater, like sweatshirt thing on, jumper. Blimey. And of course I wore that outside in Vegas when it's like 47 degrees. I was like, what on earth is this? The only way I can describe it is, you know, sometimes if you go into a shop, at least here in the UK, if you get like on the high street or something, you go into a shop, sometimes they have those blowers that blow hot air down, like an air curtain across the door. So obviously they have the door open all day, and if you stand right under that, it's like, it feels really hot. It's like a heater. And I took one step outside of the airport door, so I was still sort of semi under the door frame, and I thought, oh, I must be under one of those heater things. Of course, why would I be? It's Vegas. And it suddenly became apparent to me, no, that is just the air. It's so hot. I would love it if you did about it. So would I. But I can't guarantee it, unfortunately. I'll do my best for you. Always do my best for you. So we're at 30,000 feet now. So we've dropped 8,000 off. On our way down to 7,000. 185 miles to go. 12:02 arrival time. It's now 11:38. So we're not far out at all. Yeah, it was weird actually when we landed in Vegas. It's almost like they knew they had a bunch of Brits on board the plane because it came from London. Someone from, I forget, like the Nevada Commission, I don't know what it's called, but like someone official from the state of Nevada boarded the plane before we were allowed to get off, took control of the tannoy system, the PA system, like, you know, how the cabin crew make announcements to all the passengers, and basically gave us like a 5-minute lecture before we were allowed to leave the plane, which I thought I'd never experienced that before where I've been somewhere hot. Basically saying, I know it looks like a city, I know it looks similar to what you're used to, but it is a desert, and you can die if you get it wrong. Like, always have water. Like, always have. Even if you're out in the street and you think, you know, there's shops nearby, blah, 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 let's always have water. Keep to the shade. Keep indoors if you can. Don't be, like, going on big, long walks. I remember thinking that's a bit extreme. I took one step outside the airport and I was like, oh, I see what he means. It's a desert. Despite there being a city here, this is a desert. There we go. So that, I think, is where the ferry would arrive, had it come from Wales. Is it Rosslare? I think it's Rosslare. That's like a 4-hour ferry ride and we've done it in like 10 minutes. You can see why people like to fly. Yeah, so there to there is like 4 hours, roughly, I think. I think it must be... I think it must be in there. Okay, let's just check in. So we've got ILS runway 28 left. 165 to go. We need to be at 230 and 7,000 in the next 15 minutes. We can actually slow up our rate of descent because we're easily going to do that. Easily. Yeah, I need to do some more landings in the A330. For sure. I don't know whether it's a thing with, like, I would say it's a bug, but just like a thing to be aware of. It felt like when I came into land at LAX, where it kind of says like 50, 40, 30, 20, 10. It felt like 10 was basically ground level. So I don't know whether I had my altimeter off. I don't think I did. Or I don't know whether just a heavier plane, it kind of descended on me a little bit quicker than I thought. Maybe I had a headwind and that headwind dropped at the last second, which obviously would then prompt a descent, a quicker descent, almost like the plane sort of drops out of the sky a little bit, albeit briefly. Yeah, I need to do a few more just to get the feel for that. And also fly-by-wire that make this plane not doing an A380. That is going to be cool. Like the level of detail they've put into this. If we can do a same again on the A320, that would be something special. That really will. So 40 miles until we start our approach pattern. Let's have a quick look. There we go. Yeah, so 40 miles on that ring there. Yeah, I think I'd agree with you with that. Something special about the 380. Such a shame they stopped manufacturing it, really. I mean, I guess now it's considered almost like a legacy aircraft, because... Yeah. Sign of the times, perhaps. I'm glad I got to fly on a 747 when I did, because I think I'd struggle to get on one these days. think the 380s will still be around though. I mean, like, you look at the number that Emirates and Etihad have of them. You know, the investment they've made in those planes, they're not just going to take them out of the sky just because Airbus have decided to stop making them. They're going to be maintained for a long, long time, I would imagine. Yeah, and you know it's going to be a good A380. Because, I mean, this 320 that they've made is it's quite a feat. So if they're going to take like the base technologies that have gone into this aircraft and transfer those over to a 380, that's going to be something. "21 minutes out, apparently. 140 miles. So there is our waypoint where we need to be at 7,000. Probably will achieve that around here. So 1,300 feet per minute, we've got another 13,000 feet to go, and that's 10 minutes roughly. That gives us another 2 minutes based on when it thinks we're going to arrive, so we've got to slow down as well. Island, the Emerald Isle. You can see why they call it that. Look how green it is. Love Island. Absolutely love Island. Spent a period of time working over there, over 10 years ago now, but really, really enjoyed that time. Like, the people were just fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. They've got a certain way that they look at life that I really quite admire. So looking at the direction of the wind, obviously you can't see this at the moment, I'm looking at a separate screen, looking at the direction of the wind, it is completely in our favour. So we're going to have a headwind as we come in. And at the moment, it's at 14 knots, at 271/4-ish degrees. And given that our runway is at 280 degrees, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Which means I'm going to struggle on the excuses front if I fail on the landing. So there is that to consider. There is part of me when I see I've got a crosswind, it's almost like, oh good, an excuse. Yeah, sorry everyone, that crosswind, oof, really difficult. That's why it was a terrible landing. Honest. I don't know why it just made that sound. There's 11. Good morning to you too. How are you? Hope you're well. Thanks for stopping on by. Appreciate you. Yeah, you gotta love Windows 11. So we may have to forego these nice views in a few moments, because I'm going to need to start paying a bit more attention in the cockpit. It's going to start to get a bit busy. Go. So Dublin is more or less straight ahead of us at this point, or slightly to our left, about 11 o'clock. Need to get that speed under control as well. But I would imagine it's going to struggle to do that while also keeping our descent on the go. Let's see. We are descending at a relatively low rate, so it... yeah, it is struggling, isn't it? Well, there's only one thing for it. Speed brakes. There it goes. You can see it starting to move. Well, you can't. I can on a different screen. 280 down to 270. Dropping. So it means we can maintain our descent while also dropping the speed. Yeah, the sound effects are great, aren't they? Absolutely great. That's one thing I do admire actually about the PMDG 737, like the engine sounds that they've done with that. That's it's quite remarkable. Hey, no problem at all. Thank you for coming by. I really do appreciate you. I mean that. Hopefully we'll bump into each other soon. You have a great day. Yeah, the wing flex is pretty impressive on this game. I think they're also going to start factoring in the wing flex into how some of the actuators work inside the wing. So when the wing flex is applied, that obviously puts more stress on the actuators in the way they have to work. So that's also going to get thrown into the simulation. Like, the detail is astonishing that they're going to with this plane, the A320neo. Absolutely remarkable. Right, so we are at 230 knots now. So the question is, if I retract speed brakes, will the speed go back up? Let's try it. Yeah, it's creeping. Well, I don't know, is it creeping or is it just bouncing around? I'm going to go with bouncing around. I think it may maintain. Right, time to start paying attention because look, we've got some stuff coming up. Right, flight level 070, 27, 230, 230. Then what happens? 180, 3000 at Lampo. Where's Lampo? Where are you, Lampo? Let's be having you. Okay. Sound, how you doing? Welcome on in. You've arrived just in time. $180 knots. That's still a little bit quick, I fancy, because we're going to want to be at 140 on final, and basically at this point, from there, we're going to be on final. I am using just the standard release version at the moment. Yeah, just the normal one. For me, stability is key. I want to be able to turn on this stream and know that I'm going to get a working aircraft. Having a background in software development, the words development, build or experimental put shivers up my spine. Let's put it that way. Is that the Wicklow Mountains? I think it might be. Could be wrong. I believe that's where the water for the Guinness... Yeah, the stable one, that's right. I think that's where the water from the Guinness comes from. What is it they say? The further you go from Dublin, the worse the Guinness gets. Dublin. Yeah, better view from over the engine probably. Yeah, here we are. Where's that airport then? It's to the north of the city, I believe. Probably best I don't zoom in too much on that because the detail is probably not going to look too good. One of those where it looks good from up high, but... Let's go back onto our plan. There we go. Right, we're at 7,000 feet. We're at 230 knots. We are all good. I do know, Mark. So we're going to head out to sea a little bit, loop around. So the views on the fly-by-wire, I have modified them. So I use the free look camera. So I have an Xbox controller as well as like all my joystick and stuff. So I use the Xbox controller to put the cameras where I wanted them. Then I think you press Control, Alt, and then a number, and then that saves it. And then to go back to that view, you just press Alt and the number that you chose. So when I'm changing views, I'm doing like Alt 3, Alt 4, Alt 5, Alt 6, and I know which one is which. Well, I say that, I mess up sometimes, but... If you go onto flightsim.to, you can download camera config files where people have made their own views. And then you can swap them out, but make sure you do a backup of the defaults, otherwise you might find you overwrite something and break your sim. So it's always good to take a backup of the config files that you're going to replace. Another 5 miles out to sea and then we'll begin our turn. So we're going to need to start getting ourselves down to, what speed is it? 180, I believe. Yes, it's 230, and then when we do our final part of the from here, we're going to need to descend down to 3,000 and get to 180 knots. Should be fine. First stage of flaps out. Estimated time of arrival is in 13 minutes time. Oh yeah, me too. And at the time I didn't have a gaming PC and I was like, oh no, how am I going to play it? Didn't have an Xbox. I did have a 16-inch MacBook Pro which had the Intel chips in it, which means you could dual boot them into Windows. So I was dual booting into Windows, and my word, like, that laptop just could not play it. It would consistently crash, like, all the time. So I don't have a very strong background in X-Plane. I played X-Plane 10, I think. I think it was 10, like I was saying earlier. I played that on my iMac for a time. But I wouldn't say I was into it seriously. It was more that I would just take off and do a circle and land again. But my thoughts on it are that it's a good thing. How can it not be a good thing? Like, even if you like flight sim and you're like, I don't really like X-Plane, X-Plane existing and progressing in its own way is a good thing, because that keeps Asobo and Microsoft on their toes, which means we get a better sim as a result of the other one existing. Yeah, I'm not really one for picking sides and, you know, I am Team Microsoft Flight Simulator, I don't like X-Plane. Don't be that person. Like, that's just silly. You see it a lot in, like, the computer hardware space, because I'm kind of into that. Aside from the flight simming stuff, like, you know, you've got Team Nvidia or Team AMD or Team Intel, and it's like they fight in the comments of videos, and it's like, it does not matter. Maybe one's faster at one application and one's a bit faster in the other application. Like, it's fine. You don't have to hate the other company. You should be glad they exist, because they make your company work harder, because they're worried about them competing. Oh, good for you. Good for you. Yeah, just enjoy it all. Like, why not? You know, it's like Mac versus Windows. Like, who cares? Use them both if you want. Like, I do. I've got a MacBook here to my left for me to keep an eye on the stream and all the other stuff, and I've got the gaming PC on the right that does the gaming. It's fine. You can have both. It's all okay. Ironically, it was a Mac that got me back into gaming. It was that 16-inch MacBook. I bought it for other reasons. And then I was like, oh, you can dual boot them. I forgot about that. So I quickly dual booted it into Windows, downloaded Steam, downloaded Counter-Strike. Keep in mind, I hadn't touched a game for like 7 years. And immediately I was like, oh, yes. I now remember why I love this. So it's like, right, next job is build a gaming PC. But then, of course, COVID happened. Which meant all the graphics cards went crazy expensive, or you just couldn't buy one. I ended up having to write a little bot, little piece of software, just to scan all these websites for me. I know there are Discord bots that can do that for you, but in my experience, they weren't fast enough. And on the day that I managed to snag a graphics card at a reasonable price, my bot went off about 5 minutes before the Discord ones did, so it definitely worked. I don't think I would have got one had I stayed with the Discord ones for some time. Whereas now it's all changed. Graphics card prices are falling like crazy. Partially, I guess, because of the crypto element. The mining is no longer as profitable. And also Nvidia have got their new cards coming out in the autumn, as do AMD. And they've got a lot of the current gen stuff still sat in warehouses, and they're going to want to shift that. It's a good time to be building a PC. Do I use Thrustmaster? Yes, I do. I use the TCA Airbus stick, which is convenient because it's kind of cheap. Didn't cost an awful lot of money, and it's perfect for flying the Airbuses. And I've also got the throttle quadrant thing and a set of Logitech rudder pedals. But that joystick will do all of it. The joystick's got a little throttle thing on it, albeit not, not the greatest one, just a little slider. You can twist it for your rudder. Again, not the greatest experience, but if you want to get going for about £50, it's everything you need. Compare and contrast to the Thrustmaster Boeing stuff. So hundreds and hundreds of pounds for that stuff, so it's not to say you shouldn't do it. I'm not going to lie, I'm tempted to pick one up someday, but it won't be for some time. Okay. Yeah, the 4000 series is going to be quite something. I mean, I have a 3070 at the moment. So I would probably be looking at a 4070 next time. And rumour has it 4070 is going to be roughly where the 3090/3090 Ti is, which is pretty good when you think about it. If you can get that for around $500, $600, you can't argue with that. Sends you the wrong email and you can't change it. Oh, is that like the email that you've got assigned to your Microsoft account? That could be why. Maybe if you log into your Microsoft account, you might find you're able to change your email address. Maybe if you've got a backup email on board for that account, you could yeah, that's right, 4090s first. Oh, you can see why they would. You can see why. Ooh, we've got a bit of a crosswind going on. Sad about flight sim, you can't simulate the failures. Yeah. Can you log back out, Oliver, and go back in? too stingy for the Phoenix ones at the moment. Cool, so we're just about to hit 3,000 feet, which is just as well because we've got the waypoint coming up where we need to be, and at 180 knots. So now the plane has satisfied the altitude, we can start dropping that speed. We're going to need to do that fairly promptly. Forgive me, chat, if I miss some messages now. I'm going to have to start concentrating a little bit. And we don't have a crosswind because we have a final turn to make. I'd completely forgotten about that. Okay, we can do our next stage of flaps. And the next. Alright, let's get our landing system on. So we are beneath the glide slope, it looks like at the moment, at 3,000 feet, which is fine. If we maintain 3,000 feet, we will intercept that shortly. So we are gradually making our way towards being in line, intercepting that glide slope. Okay, altimeter. Oh, what am I doing? Three zero 3036. What's that beeping? Any ideas why that was beeping? Was I overspeed maybe? So if I hit the approach button now. Okay, let's get speed down to 140 knots. A little bit of a cheat, I've got the approach mode on. Just out of curiosity as to whether I'd programmed it correctly, and happy to report that I have. See, everything is spot on. Rudder pedals are in the wrong place. I must have kicked them during flight. Stupid boy. Right. Eyes down for a full house. Yes. Well, press the approach button up here. Not sure where I'd do that in here though. But in any case, I'm going to fly manually because you know how would you do that in the
2,500.
computer? Get down. Right, let's set auto brake to low. Arm our flaps. And I will try not to mess up the landing in front of everyone. 777 is predicting a butter landing. Don't know. I'll do my best for you all. So all you can do in life is do your best. And if you just sense that getting bounced around a little bit, not gonna lie, I really need to use the toilet. Possibly the worst planning ever on my part. I'm sure you all really wanted to know that. Trust me, as soon as we're down, the stream will be ending promptly. We're a touch high. Let's see if we can just increase our descent rate a touch. So, there we go. Bring us back in profile. We're a little bit to the right, actually. What's happened?
$1,000.
Hello, 777. I probably shouldn't be looking at chat, should I, while I'm doing this? Definitely feeling like I'm being beaten around a bit up here. Maybe it's that sort of headwind, a little bit of gustiness that comes and goes. I was watching, was it British AV Geek? He was having a bit of a nightmare the other day. He had a headwind coming into land and all of a sudden the wind dropped away.
400.
And left him in a bit of a pickle last minute. He had to do a go around.
300.
Go a bit lower.
200.
Come on.
100. 50, 40, 30, 20, 10, 5.
There we go. That was a little bit on the late side. Seemed to hover there a little bit. Although it was reasonably smooth. Well, we're down. Welcome to Dublin. Thank you all for being here, by the way. It means the world. I hope I never get to the situation as a YouTuber where I take you all for granted. It really does mean the world that you all come along for this journey. So thank you all once again. Alright. Let's find ourselves a terminal. Well, at least the flight plan got us here. That was a bit concerning this morning when the plane wouldn't accept some of the waypoints that SimBrief had. I don't know why that is. Hey, you're welcome. Thank you for coming along. Appreciate you. Appreciate every single one of you. Just trying to think when I might be able to do the next stream, because Wednesday, when I normally would stream, I'm actually off to the airport to do that 737 sim day. So I can't say when the next one will be, unfortunately. But I am really looking forward to that sim day. I don't know whether they'll tell me what sim they're running, whether it's like X-Plane or... maybe they want to keep it to themselves a little bit. I could understand if they do. That would make sense. Yeah, it was a nice little flight, that. Yeah, it could be a trade secret. I don't know. Maybe they don't want to get into that level of detail because they don't want to like break the illusion. I don't think the value for me isn't going to be in like the sim itself, although it will be enjoyable, I'm sure, to like fly with a proper Boeing yoke and all the throttle controls, because it is like a proper replica, it seems, of the cockpit. The value for me is going to be able to sit with a real pilot for an hour and, you know, quiz them. Because I am in no doubt whatsoever I've got some serious holes in my knowledge, so I'm gonna kind of maybe have like a little list. The main one being the trim on the Boeing. I always struggle. Clear to go across. Always struggle with the trim on the Boeing. Coming into land, I feel like I'm fighting it all the way down, whereas the Airbus just does it. So it sort of goes to show how spoiled I've become with the Airbus. Mind you, it could potentially be dangerous for my wallet, because if I come away from there being like, oh wow, using the yoke was so much better than a joystick, then I'm going to have to like start saving up one of those Thrustmaster joysticks. Right, where am I going? Can I get up here? Oh, thank you. Little bit late, I felt. A little bit late. I am making a right meal of this. I'm in completely the wrong place. Oh well, here we'll have to do. It's only pretend. There we go. Not the most graceful parking ever. You can't park there, mate. Yeah, a little bit late. That seems to be my style. Oh, you do find it a bit floaty, do you? Maybe that's why. It feels like I'm on track to land, roughly in the touchdown zone. And then, like you say, there's just that float. But then I'm always a little bit reluctant to push it down too hard, especially on stream, because I don't want to have like a massive like crash sound as I land. That's not very not particularly graceful. Yeah, tricky indeed. It's all about practice though. Anyway, thank you all again so much. I really do appreciate you all coming by. It does mean the world to me, so thank you all so much. Like I say, not sure when the next one will be. My best advice to you is get subscribed, because then hit the bell icon. Not to sound like that YouTuber. Hit the bell, hit subscribe, smash that like button. Yeah, just if you'd like to subscribe and hit the bell, then you will get notified for the next stream, hopefully. And with that, I'll wish you all a good day. Thanks for being here, and you all take care of yourselves. I'll catch you on the next one.